Matt, I know you've been doing a lot of reporting too on another former oligarch who just had his mask ripped off, which is Sam Bankman-Fried, and the way his whole crypto empire completely crumbled in a pile of billions of dollars of criminality and an illegal political influence scheme. I mean, what do you think that whole scenario also says about the way he was able to build his brand in DC, build his brand with, a bunch of media outlets, and what it sort of revealed in the moment of his collapse?
Right. Yeah. I mean, Sam Bankman-Fried is someone who built himself up as the face of crypto. He spent a lot of money to do this. A lot of lobbying. He spent something like $37 million that we know of, because he also claims he also spent a lot in dark money. But we don't quite know exactly the details there yet. But he spent something like $37 million just this past midterms to support different candidates, both Democrats and Republicans. There was a lot of reporting around the Democrats he supported, but he also sent a lot of money to Republicans. And one of his co-executives over at FTX donated almost the same amount he did to almost strictly Republicans as well. So FTX across the board was trying to get their fingers all over everybody. And essentially the reason for this was to be able to mold crypto policy. Crypto has basically risen since 2021 to the mainstream. It's been around for, about 13, 14 years almost now. And it's mainly been a investment vehicle for people who got in early, who got lucky, essentially played the lotto and struck it rich, or very wealthy people who are able to buy in at big numbers. So it matters when their large holdings they spent a lot of money on go up. Every other person, especially those who bought since crypto went mainstream in 2021, has basically been left holding the bag. Everyone who bought, for example, Bitcoin in 2021 is basically in the red. Bitcoin is now trading well below levels it traded at 2021. Again, this is when crypto really went mainstream. This is when your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, whoever who isn't tech savvy, knows nothing about this stuff. That's when they asked you about it. And that's when they decided, I'll invest some money in it because they saw a number going up. And they were told constantly that number is going to continue to go up. And they're all at a loss now. And the people who win this game are, again, these VCs who've invested in crypto, these other rich crypto people. And the game is basically rigged from the very start, much like the old financial system. But the sad thing here is that crypto was built up and sold to people as something brand new. It was going to replace the old financial system, and it was going to be the great equalizer. Everyone was going to get rich and make money. Their quotes, their phrases, they would constantly say, we're all going to make it. Don't tell people, if you're not buying in, you're going to be a big loser. It was their constant sloganing too. Even major crypto exchanges, crypto.com, the famous Super Bowl commercial, the infamous Super Bowl commercial now, fortune favors the brave. I mean, basically, you're a wimp if you don't buy in. If you bought in, you're also at a loss too. And so Sam Bankman-Fried is an example of a guy who tried to make himself the face of crypto. He was successful. And then a few people at CoinDesk and a great crypto investigator, independent journalist, Mike Bergersberg, it's an anonymous, it's a pen name. But they looked into this and they found that Alameda Research, FTX's hedge fund, was basically insolvent. And once this news broke, it started a whole avalanche where Binance, one of their competitors and the leading crypto exchange, ended up selling off all of their FTT tokens, which was FTX's own crypto token. And once that started to happen, people started to worry about the liquidity over at FTX directly as well. So then FTX's customers started to started to withdraw their funds. And I think it was within something like 48 or 72 hours, billions and billions of dollars were just taken out of FTX, which eventually led to them filing for bankruptcy, which eventually led to a hacker or someone whom we still don't know stealing millions and millions of dollars from FTX the same day they went bankrupt. You have a new CEO over at FTX who was the guy who was hired to clean up Enron, saying FTX is the worst he's ever seen, which means it's even worse than Enron. Billions of dollars, I should say, in customer funds were basically funneled from FTX, where they thought it was just safely being stored, to Alameda, where it ended up being, basically squandered on risky investments. And there are countless people who are out money here. And all these VCs, all these people in the tech and finance space, all these politicians too, who were, eating up the SBF Kool-Aid, they all built up this guy as the next big thing, this crypto kingpin, when it turned out he's a fraudster who might even be a bigger criminal than Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I know this is a difficult question, but I'm curious your thoughts on it. Is Binance going to go down? And if Binance goes down, is that like basically a wrap for crypto?
Here's my personal opinion. Crypto is done. It's been done for many years. We're going to see failure after failure after failure this next year or so. We already saw it this year. Like, we saw a major stable coin, Terra, basically collapse, which caused the entire crypto meltdown in May. And then after that, we saw crypto lender after crypto lender fall. Basically, these companies that borrow money from crypto holders, they store this money, and in return, they would promise super high yields, like yields as high that was so high that would make the people who invested in Bernie Madoff question whether this was a legit investment. And in turn, they would then give out crypto loans to people. And what ends up happening is that the whole thing was bullshit. It's almost all these crypto platforms right now that we're talking about, FTX, and these crypto lenders, basically take part in what's called a flywheel scheme. And what that is basically these companies come up with a token. Let's say there was a Crystal Kyle and Friends coin, KKF coin, and you guys decided to mint a whole bunch of them. You decide to mint millions and millions of these tokens. And you decide to then hold on to, let's say 70% of the tokens. And then your friends, your early investors, you decide, hey, we're going to give, 10% of these tokens to you guys at a really big discount. So low that even the opening selling price when we sell it to the public, you're already at in the green. You're already making a profit. So they buy in. So that's 80% now. The 70% you held for yourself, the 10% you gave to your friends and investors. And then you open up that 20% to the public. And so the public's buying in. Let's say it opened at $5. They're buying in. It hits $10, $20, $30. And that's where it gets to. That's the peak for the moment. So the token sold, you sold 20% of that token, and it's now valued at 30%. What these companies now do then is then say, oh, okay, that means that each of the tokens we held, again, they held 70% of these tokens. That means each one of them is worth $30 USD. That's not true. We all know that's not true in terms of the liquidity, because only 20% were ever sold to the public. So that means there's only 20% of that token actually has liquidity behind it. But you're going ahead out to investors and VCs saying, we're a we're a company worth billions and billions of dollars because we have 70% of this token that's worth $30. If you tried to actually sell off that 70% of that token for real USD, you couldn't do it because there's not that much liquidity there. But that's how they raised money, and that's how they're able to tell people that's how much they have, that's how much they're worth, when the money was never there. So all it then takes is for some big investor to then sell off, like what happened with Binance with that FTT token. And then all of a sudden you have the public going, oh, we got to sell off. And then once they sell off, there goes all the real actual money. So you're still holding 70% of the KKF token, but everyone who actually put their money in withdrew it, sold off their token and got their USD out, which means you're now holding 70% that's backed by nothing. And that's why all these companies are now failing. And you're going to find out that so much more is behind these companies. This is the same dynamic behind so many more of these companies. The largest stablecoin, Tether, people have been just waiting for it to collapse, because basically whenever Bitcoin starts to dip, the company that runs Tether just all of a sudden prints up billions of dollars in Tether and then disperses it to their partners at various different cryptocurrency exchanges. And all of a sudden, these big Bitcoin purchases are made that then pump up the value behind Bitcoin. Now, how much actual cold, hard fiat money is behind it? We do not know because there's so much Tether and other stable coins in the system. When that collapses, we will know just how much actual cold, hard cash is behind crypto. And I think the reveal to a lot of people is it's not that much. So will crypto be dead when this is all said and done? I think there will always be advocates who continuously try to push it. But I do think as an investment vehicle for the mainstream public, for the retail investor, I think it's already dying, if not already dead. People are sick and tired of seeing their money just evaporate on what they told was the future.
Yeah, I mean, just to elaborate on a little bit of what you're saying there, because I went into Binance this week and also did some digging with Tether. I mean, Binance is the #1 crypto exchange in the world, so critical piece of the infrastructure. The dude who runs it, CZ, says you can't even really call it a company. It's not actually based anywhere. There's no transparency around like who owns it. There's no board of directors or traditional shareholder structure. The only thing they had, he swears, all the customer assets on the platform, they're backed 1-to-1. But the only proof of that was this proof of reserves that an accounting firm called Mazars had prepared. Well, Mazars has now pulled out and said, we don't want anything to do with any of this. CZ got pressed in a CNBC interview of like, okay, well, if the reserves are all there, why not do an audit with a Big Four firm to reassure everyone that the reserves are there? And he gave this whole line about like, well, they don't actually know how to audit crypto firms. And the host hits him back with, well, they audited this other exchange, Coinbase. Deloitte audited them. So what's the problem? And he had nothing to say in response. So basically, you're supposed to take the word of this one dude for the fact that they're all on the up and up. And that's before you get to Tether. There was an interesting thing that came out about Tether, too, where Sam Bankman-Fried, CZ, and some other big players in the crypto space, they're all in this group chat that's called like, it's called
Wire
something
fraud.
really sketchy.
Fraud.
No, this is a different one.
Different one?
It's called like market coordination or something like that, which again sounds just like brazenly illegal.
Actually manipulation, actually.
Yeah, for real.
Oh my God. So, we commit crimes here.
Right, exactly. So Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda had made some sort of a $250,000 transaction regarding Tether as Sam Bankman-Fried's house of cards is completely falling apart. Now, in the world of crypto, where there's billions changing hands, fake billions often cases changing hands all over the place all the time, $250,000 is chump change. And yet CZ and these other dudes in this exchange are freaking out about this piddling $250,000 trade regarding Tether and directly accusing Sam Bankman-Fried of trying to kill Tether and sort of like retribution for his whole empire ultimately collapsing, which raised a lot of eyebrows because if it was like, oh, is Tether so fragile that a potentially $250,000 transaction could send the whole thing crumbling? And as important as Binance is to all of this infrastructure, Tether, as this is like the stable coin that at this point undergirds everything. If Tether falls apart, my understanding is the gig really is up for almost this entire space.
Right. Yeah. It's like they built this entire industry on toothpicks and then just printed out photos of steel beams to like put in front of the toothpicks for people. Right. It's like everything. We've always seen this in crypto. All it takes is for one major platform, one major token, one major company to fall. And then all of a sudden there's a domino effect. When you think about it, you mentioned $250,000. There's a lot of problems with the old finance system, with the banking system. No doubt about it. And it would be great to do some great upheaval on what the current system is. But when we're talking $250,000, if you have $250,000 in your bank, and by the way, if you were thinking of, you were shopping around for a bank to leave your money with, you probably wouldn't shop with you wouldn't leave your money with a bank that insists it's not really a company. I mean, that's just bizarre. But if you put $250,000 with a bank, you're federally insured up to that amount of money. $250,000 is safe no matter what happens to that bank. They could go under and that money, you'll get that money back. With crypto, there are no regulations, no safety nets, no insurance policies. You lose that money if it's $1, if it's $250,000, if it's more. And some of these companies even faked the fact that they were backed. I think Voyager was one that claimed that they were actually, because they personally banked with a bank, that bank would cover their customers, which is ludicrous on its face. But they advertised it that way to their customers. And of course, when they went bankrupt, that was not the case. Those people were not covered. They're still missing out on their money. Crypto is going to have a very hard 2023. If you thought 2022 was bad for crypto, you haven't seen anything yet, especially when you consider that SBF is now has been arrested. He's been extradited to the United States just last night. His two high executives at FTX and Alameda, one, his ex-girlfriend, Caroline Ellison, the CEO of Alameda, she has pled guilty to a plethora of charges relating to fraud. And in addition, she's going to cooperate in the case against Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, if Sam Bankman-Fried is really screwed, I would assure you he has something up his sleeves that will probably help him, I don't think cut a great deal, but maybe get a number of years shaved off, because he, without a doubt, as the head of one of the major, or formerly one of the major crypto exchanges, has information about Tether, Binance, and a number of other major crypto, companies that basically help prop up this entire industry. And if he really wants to screw with them, he easily could. We know, people have known for so long that what Tether has been saying about being backed one-to-one is an absolute lie, because they just print up billions of dollars almost seemingly overnight, and there's no influx of capital that is known about. So we'll just have to wait this out and see. I do think the FTX court cases are going to be a huge deal in making those dominoes eventually fall, though.
If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.